Hello everyone, today we will be going into the female member of the Arataki gang and get them out of troubles they wander right into. Deputy leader and sidekick to Ito, mender of tribulations, Kuki Shinobu. So let's get started with talking about her character. Kuki Shinobu is a playable electro character in Genshin Impact. A former shrine maiden of Grand Narukami Shrine, she is the sidekick of Arataki Ito and deputy leader of the Arataki gang. Due to her professionalism and certifications, Kuki Shinobu has helped the Arataki gang out of many problems and has even expanded the gang's business scope outside of their regular mischief and delinquency. Kuki Shinobu is a female 4-star character. Her weapon is a sword and her vision is electro. Her birthday is July 27th and her constellation is Tripliatio dell'Empio. She comes from the region of Inazuma. Shinobu has 3 affiliations, those being with the Arataki gang, Kuki clan, and formerly with the Grand Narukami Shrine. Her special dish is Oni Mask balls, a variant of Oni Mask. The deputy leader of the Arataki gang is voiced by these 4 voice actors in the 4 localizations of Genshin Impact. They are Kira Buckland in English, Yang Ning in Chinese, Kaori Mizuhasha in Japanese, and Kim Yul in Korean. She became a playable character on June 22, 2022. Shinobu has 2 titles she goes by, which are Mender of Tribulations and Deputy Leader of the Arataki gang. Shinobu uses the medium female model. She has light green hair, pale skin, and narrow reddish velvet eyes. She also has reddish purple markings on her skin at the size of her wrist. Her outfit is called Arataki's Demonic Deputy. Her hair is had up in a messy ponytail with a thick dark reddish robe and a dark hairpiece with gold accents. In addition to this, Shinobu has messy bangs and wears a sharpless dark gray mask and that covers the lower position of her face. Shinobu's outfit consists of a dark colored crop top exposing part of her midriff, matching dark shorts, and a black belt decorated with a thick red rope tied to her bow. Over this, Shinobu wears a cropped dark purple, red, and gold trimmed hoodie jacket with a buckle, dark gloves that leave certain figures exposed, and high-tied legwear with armor padding. Shinobu's outfit is decorated with a number of gold and red assets and trinkets and more thick red ropes, mostly notably around her chest area. In addition to this, Shinobu wears a single samurai plate over her left shoulder, where her electro vision is attached. Her outfit is described as the iconic Oni Mask she wears symbolizes her role as the Arataki gang's terrifying demonic deputy. This outfit can be unlocked when you obtain her character. Unlike the rest of her family who work as shrine maidens, Shinobu prefers to forge her own path, having tried various trades, studying leeway, and even joining the Arataki gang, simply because they allowed her to live how she wants, outside and enjoying various experiences rather than being shackled to the same duties repeatedly. She's a stark contrast to the rest of her group, taking matters seriously and in a generally professional manner. She handles the gang's legal issues and gets them out of trouble and tries her best to compensate for any damages that Ito might have caused with its antics. Her professionalism is noted by the people of and Mazaka, who go to her for advice on various matters and are left impressed as their decisions with her go smoothly and efficiently. While the gang is not on good terms with the Tenryou Commission, she gets along well with Kushisara, even giving up her vision to her for the sake of their friendship. Shinobu is on poor terms with her parents as they had forced her to become a shrine maiden in her youth and felt that they did not care for her well-being along with loafing the job. However, she is still on good terms with her sister Miyuki. She wears a face mask to prevent others from getting involved in her personal affairs. She is also known to be terrifying when significantly angered, often soars from having her plans disrupted as a result of having to bail out the Arataki gang from prison. She often uses physical discipline on the gang as a way to discourage further nonsense, causing the gang members to be fearful of her sometimes. On the other hand, Seiyu believes that she will disturb her sleep because birds of a feather flock together. Shinobu's Shadow Sword is Shinobu's normal attack. The normal attack performs up to 4 rapid strikes, while the charge attack consumes a certain amount of stamina to unleash 2 rapid sword strikes. And the plunging attack plunges from midair to strike the ground below, damaging opponents along the path and dealing AoE damage upon impact. Sanctifying Ring is Shinobu's elemental attack. It creates a grass ring of sanctification at the cost of part of her HP, dealing electro damage to nearby opponents. The grass ring of sanctification follows your current active character around, deals electro damage to nearby opponents every 1 to 5 seconds, and restores HP to active characters within the ring's AoE based on Kuki Shinobu's max HP. The HP consumption from using this skill can only bring her to 20% HP. Gyari Narukame Kamehama Right is Shinobu's elemental burst. It stabs an evil externalizing blade into the ground, creating a field that cleanses the area, all that is foul, dealing countless continuous electro damage to opponents within the AoE based on Shinobu's max HP. If Shinobu's HP is less than or equal to 50% when the skill is used, the field will last longer. Breaking Free is Shinobu's first Ascension passive skill. When Shinobu's HP is not higher than 50%, her healing bonus is increased by 15%. Heart's Response is Shinobu's fourth Ascension passive skill. Sanctifying Cane Ring abilities will be boosted based on Shinobu's elemental mastery. The healing amount will increase by 75% of elemental mastery, and damage dealt increase by 25% of her elemental mastery. Protected Prayers is Shinobu's utility passive skill. Gains 25% more rewards than dispatched on Inazuma explorations for 20 hours. In the Arataki game, where sparkling commotion is something of an aesthetic, the ever-masked and low-key Kuki Shinobu, the game's second-in-command, stands out all the more against the backdrop of the others, more columniferous members. No matter what sort of mess the others have gotten themselves into, this deputy is often able to solve their problems in a manner that is both professional and highly efficient. Making some snacks for children who had theirs snatched away, giving scratched Lucaraire a new coat of paint, and serving as an advocate for disdained comrades, such are her skills on the onlookers often wonder if there is anything that she cannot do. I wouldn't say that I am certified for everything. There are some on duties that just don't have standardized assignments, so there are no way to sit for any such test. Her discipline finds irrelevant expression even behind her mask. Also, how can there be lines of work where you can find employment without the right qualifications? It boggles my mind. Equally mind-boggling, perhaps, is the fact that her deep puzzlement is just as courageous. People often say that a name card is one's door into society. Of course, the act of embroidering such cards in gold and silver confounds comprehension, but it is true that giving another party a small card that contains their name, position, and contact details is a very efficient thing to do. When Kuki Shinobu first entered society, the details of her name card were a matter of serious concern. Ex-Grand Narukami Shrine Maiden. She struggled that, though it's in the mental crib, the moment it was born. Just Kuki Shinobu. No, that would make her seem like some unemployed bum with neither skill in the word or deed. Perhaps she should go get a certification, then it was common wisdom after all. Certifications serve as excellent proof of one's efforts and are convincing ways of scoring points upon introduction. Very useful things indeed. After easily getting a couple of such certifications, Shinobu finally reckoned that she could add a little color to her persistently blank card. Unfortunately, this process proved to feature pitfalls of its own. Out of curiosity in the effort to test herself, she had gotten a whole load of certifications in one go, causing a prefect session for her name card to balloon uncontrollably. Junior Thief, Tailor, Archery Health Manager, Human Resource Manager. Having lots of skills is not a bad thing, but there is such a thing as having too many skills. Least one struggled in the stare of fighting out one's titles, like Shinobu did. To this day, Shinobu cannot remember how many cards she has made. But ever since she joined the Arataki gang, very first title has always been Deputy. After testing Kuki Shinobu's very own roasted lavender melon, the Arataki gang well-wept and exclaimed that they never knew that lavender melons could be so delicious when roasted. And the flavor, too, was most different from which had been produced by any other method they had ever tried. Could it be that high-class cutlery exams also taught people how to cook lavender melons a certain way? Faced with such a question, Shinobu put the melon she was grilling down before slowly telling a story. At that time, she had gone far off leeway to study law and would visit a place known as Wanmin Restaurant for her free time. The food there was incredibly devised and made in unique ways, with generous ideas that surprised her despite the fact that she had already obtained a high-level culinary license at the time. From slivers of stir-fried meat immersed in sauce to boiled cabbage with the fragrance of chicken soup, indeed, the world was wide and full of wonders. And though one might be acquainted with every profession and be certified highly in every one, it is never wise to rest on one's laurels. Indeed, it is only by daring to try and make breakthroughs that one can surpass the limits set down by those who came before. The Arataki gang did not understand this in full, but they cheered all the way the same, for there was no harm in that, and their cheers certainly did the melons favor little harm. Seeing how they gratefully enjoyed their meals, Shinobu kept the ending of the story to herself. Back then, the sours of chef of Wanmin Restaurant had heard her say these words, and urged Chef Mao to bring out a salt and pepper slime. Such food she knew would never appear in any culinary exam anywhere in the world. Nor would the Arataki gang would learn that Shinobu had slathered slime ooze over lavender melons as sauce before grilling them. The Kuki clan is a family of shrine maidens, a tradition that spans generations. Members of that family regard service to Narukami as a great honor. This too was the case for her generation after her sister Miyuki was set to was sent to the Grand Shrine, she was also sent there by a young age as an understudy. Of course, a great store of rules and regulations came with this time-honored tradition. For example, how many days are too fast, too slow, one sincerely in resolve, or how many tribulations were to be performed to avoid profaning the divine. No one ever explained their rules had come from how they had been decided. She was simply told that they had existed since way back, and thus where they were to follow. When Shinobu first arrived at the shrine, she would sometimes catch a chill from staying on the mountain at night. At this time, her family lived far away from the shrine, and her sister was out on errands far afield. A strong-willed child, she did not ask her other shrine maidens for help, but would instead pluck thorny plants one by one alone before twiddling them around her body. According to a tradition saying that steed would earn you the protection of Narukami and resolve this illness from you, so she would on drilling the loops of thorns, even as she whispered prayers to Narukami for protection deep into the night, shivering all the while. However, when the night was over, her chill was not cured. All she had earned instead was a tingling red murk around herself. As the days passed, Shinobu would find again and again that the rules were not as foolproof as the ancients might have made them out to be. Nor was the role of a shrine maiden quite an indispensable way as though they had claimed back at home. Well then, didn't that mean they were very necessary of the Kuki clan? To become shrine maidens was also up to renegotiation. Some year later, Shinobu had already left the shrine for some time now, and with time to kill, she would flip through the book of Herbology. Within its pages, she found that it clearly indeed vivid described how the mountainous thorns had particular properties that could render birds and beasts unable to move, and that it was this priority that led to ancients to include them into medicine to more topical aches and pains. She was, well, speechless. Shinobu thought to herself that yes, perhaps rules did have rhyme or reason behind them, but to treat the rules as reason in themselves must be treated as an obsolete practice. On further reflection, she could not help but feel that she was happier living her current life. To find work through which she might truly have freedom, Kuki Shinobu once declined all manner of respectable job offers, only agreeing to bring hired as part-time outscored staff. One of these commissions came from an old lacquer professional who had accidentally droned his hip out of whack. The job itself was no challenge to Shinobu, bearer of an advice certification in this field, but the address of the client was, well, a little special. When she brought the newly maintained figurine to the police station, she had ran into a petty thief who was making their escape from the site, who, fleeing at all speed as they were, rammed right into her, sending that doll sailing into the air. Seeing the several days' work was about to go into the gutter, Shinobu struck out like lightning, seizing the figure with one hand before whirling about and tripping the suspect. All at once, the surrounding people surged forward, substituting the crook. Afterwards, Kujo Saro, seemingly the person who had placed this order, would come and thank her personally. As for the goods, they were perfectly unharmed. Much to Saro's surprise, to think that someone in a lacquer business could have such material skill. After learning of Shinobu's circumstances and her desire to find a job that gives her real freedom, Saro would consider for a moment before inviting Shinobu to join the 10-year commission. No thanks, I'll pass. The civil service seems to be a bit limiting for me. At that point, Shinobu hesitated. But if those legal lectures and martial arts training could be done part-time, I will definitely consider the offer. From that day on, Shinobu would begin a new slew of part-time work. One thing that surprised her, though, the General of the Tenryou Commission would always attend her lectures and demonstrations. It is the only right that those who enforce the law should better understand it. So Sora said that perfect easiness. The opportunity to test myself against seemingly skilled warriors is also not one I get often, Shinobu replied. Sora's straightforward personality and decisive behavior were things Shinobu greatly approved of, and it was though this, and through Sora's hiring and offer of maintained figures, that the two would quickly become friends. Sora would also repeat their offer of employment several times, only for Shinobu to decline each time. Yet this job that brings true freedom was not something she would find either. That is, until one day when Sora wound up arriving late to the izakaya where they had arranged, as they often did, to meet and have figurines change hands, leaving Shinobu to drink it till midnight. That's unexpected. I didn't think you could be late all at that, Sora. Sorry, I held up a really rowdy gang. A gang? And what gang could cause trouble you that much? Well, I wouldn't call them trouble actually. They call themselves the Arataki Gang. The news that the Arataki Gang now had a second in command raised a decent, though ultimately small stir in Hanamazaka. It was rumored that this deputy was well versed in etiquette law and was quite a dapper hand physically as well, bringing the other members to heel within a few days of arriving. Those who had witnessed this deputy's actions firsthand were full of praise for them, saying that at long last the Arataki Gang had someone polite and reasonable added to their ranks. Some did worry about the development. However, the Arataki Gang was, after all, no proper organization by any measure. The little hullabaloos that had caused in the past were nothing, really, but with the arrival of someone who can be the brains of the organization who might put some discipline into them, could this not also be a harbinger of worse in the seasons to come? Not to mention the gang's daily operations, other than the logistics and transportation, home repair, and performance, they now added tax agency, legal conservation, event management, and various other operations that both involved sizable capital investments, a non-insignificant air of danger to them. Surely they weren't intending to do all these things without the right license, right? And never mind the license first, if they were to commit fraud in any of these newly added businesses, they would surely be arrested by the Tenryou Commission. However, these wild guesses and ill-omened rumors would quickly be dispelled. The Arataki Gang's actions afterwards were more than enough to show that they are still a gang for their own word. Those who had attempted to enlist their new financial services have indeed seen their situations turned right around, and the transparency and uprightness of their process have been stunning. Of course, it was also a pity that the gang remains the gang. The children of Hanamazaki still live in fear of Arataki Ito coming to win their snacks off them come to dinner time, and often still return to their houses fumbling. In any case, it seems that even the legendary second-in-command will take a long time to reform the Arataki Gang more unbound ways. Kuki Shinobu had yet to wear her mask when she first joined the Arataki Gang. While pursuing a certain business prospect, Shinobu was busy engaging in some serious talks. The other members of the gang were arranged behind her in a single row, hands behind their backs, and unsmiling. Just stay like that and don't say anything. Shinobu had instructed them to do so on short notice. This is the most effective way of negotiating for you guys, anyway. The talks were going exactly as Shinobu expected until a passing child suddenly pointed at her, exclaiming, "Mama, Mama, look! That's the shrine maiden who never smiled back at the grand shrine. Wow, she looks so cool." The child was whisked away by a panicked mother, but the quick displeasure did not change the muted embarrassment and resignation on her face, as if she could not wait to flee for the hills and forests right at that instant. As for Ito's face, it was as the two those were wrestling out for dominance upon it. Genta and the others, tried as they might, ultimately lost their poker faces amidst glances of gauze. The marital distribution would, of course, see their faces beaten so hard that they would render their Shinobu was at the moment. If only they had known their fate, perhaps they might not have laughed it quite too hard. From that day on, Shinobu had a sport that mask. Pitch black in claws bared. It lent her possibly demonic aspect. By the way, it also that mental distribution that served as an origin for her moniker, the Demonic Deputy. The day she left the shrine, Kuki Shinobu left all the things that she possessed while serving as the shrine maiden behind at home, starting over from the most basic of belongings. As such, she knew immediately that the bag she lifted was not the right weight, hadn't she only left towels instead. Reaching into the bag and fishing down about, she pulled out all the things, a glittering vision. Its loveliness so striking, such that her sister Miyuki could not help but gasp. Admiring it was indeed that the shrine maiden who was feeling her duties would receive a vision for doing just that. This, of course, was the first certification that Shinobu would receive from a god, certifying her freedom. Indeed, Miyuki would had indeed to stop at first, had a chance of her heart upon witnessing a sign agreeing to help convince their parents. It was also due to that she would willingly surrender the vision along with within the vision hunt the queen was ongoing. For one thing, she did not intend to make life difficult for her friend in the Tenryou Commission. But for the other, the vision was but one of her many, many certifications. Most things in her life could, in any case, be settled without the use of her vision, nor could the truly related problems be dismissed simply by the dint of that device. Removing generations worth of prejudice, for example, or searching for true unbound freedom, or stopping those thoughts in the Arataki game from chopping at the bit to help her win her vision back. Her surname, Kuki, means air. This could be related to being rebellious in her family, like dividing from tradition. Being like the wind and the air as it moves, maybe. Her name Shinobu means recall and stealth endure. And I believe it could be a reference to her Shinobi and Ninja theme. Her constellation is called Tribulatio Dentio, which is in Latin and seems to mean trouble removal. I think I can relate to how she does her best to remove all the trouble the game gets into. Fact 1. Some aspects of Shinobu's character may be inspired by the history and later legends of Hijikata Toshizu, vice commander of the Shinsengumi. Shinobu is referred to as the Arataki Game's demonic deputy or Oni deputy. Similar to Hijikata was known as the Shinugumi's demon vice commander or Oni vice commander. In a bunch of hangout events, Shinobu writes a game bylaws known in Japanese as Hachuhado, faction-wide laws. Hijikata is often named as the writer of the Shinogumi's Iron Code of Conduct, the Kochuhado, where the wide laws. The existence of this set of laws is not sustained by the historical record, and its name only began to appear within the works of novelists such as Simozawa Khan. However, it has become a misery of Shinigami-related fiction since then. While Shinobu served the shrine during her youth, she was trained in traditional healing arts using local herbs. Hijikata spent his youth selling his family's herbal medicine. Ishiria Sanyaku. Shinobu's normal attack talent, Shinobu's Shadow Sword, bears her own name, suggesting her swordsmanship is self-taught. Hijikata also spent his youth practicing self-taught swordsmanship. Fact 2. Shinobu shares the same birthday as Klee, July 27th. Fact 3. Shinobu considers the Arataki gang to be her family. And that's Kuki Shinobu. Next time, we are going to talk about the lightning god of Inazuma and the first female archon for the game to be released, Raiden Shogun. So see you next time.